If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. Today, we are talking about Season 5, Episode 13, The Hike. And as always, I am joined by someone who most certainly wasn't predicted to die in a boating accident, Stuart! Stuart, how are you?
Glad not to have died in a boating accident or be even predicted to be. Boating accidents are all too common, so just avoid boats altogether. Just avoid the water. Just stay home on land and be safe.
You live on an island.
It's a pretty big island.
Well, we're not alone today, Stuart. We're joined by someone who will never stop watching Notting Hill, Trish. Trish, how are you?
I'm good. That is actually very, very true. I love that film so much. Yes.
I'm pretty certain, I'm just Googling it real quick. Yes, okay. Sarah and I covered Notting Hill over on Schitt 90 Shows Taught Me once upon a time because it was filmed in the 90s. And I can't remember. I think she had seen it. I had never seen it. I watched it for the podcast. And if I remember correctly, I wasn't the biggest. I thought it was kind of boring. But I think it's one of those things where like, it's a movie that if you have nostalgia for, it's probably really great. And if you don't have nostalgia for, it's kind of like, eh. So,
yeah.
The people that live there have started painting all of their houses like black because tourists just go there because it's so pretty and stuff like that. And they take like Instagram posts. So they've just started painting their doorways black to deter people and like to get them away.
I love the pettiness of that. That's incredible. Good on them. I wouldn't like living in like a tourist hotspot either.
No. It'd be really weird. Just randos just taking Instagrams outside your door and you're like, please, I'm just trying to collect like a delivery. Like, leave me alone. Like, go away.
Well, today we're talking about a pretty infamous episode of Schitt's Creek, if not an infamous moment in Schitt's Creek. And Trish, I'll go to you first. You requested this episode, and I'm fairly certain it is solely for the proposal, but tell us why you chose this one.
Yeah, I think it's because there's so many moments in this episode. It's not just, although as significant as the hike is and the proposal, I think there's an awful lot of other moments in it. Because, I mean, Johnny has his health scare and Alexis and Ted and their sort of funny sort of communication where they are sort of explaining it to each other, but there's always this sort of like underlying thing of like, is this actually going to happen? And I think it's setting up quite a lot of things for future episodes as well. It's even sort of like, because you usually find conclusions at the end of a season, but I feel like this one's actually going, no, we've got another season coming. So this is all stuff setting up for that. And I think it's just a really nice sort of transitional almost setting up of things as well. And I think it's quite funny as well.
Yeah, this is a really great penultimate episode. We're really like barreling towards the end of this season. Stuart, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was really great. Solid ABC plot. Like, it's nice to have the three again and not just have the kind of like two that we jump between. And yeah, I completely agree with Trish. This felt like there was a lot of setting up going on, and because I imagine this is when they kind of know they're onto like a big hit. Like I think at Someone said
Oh
that this
yeah,
is the point that
it's
this is on Netflix at
already
this point, and
it's
everyone's
been
like,
on
ah.
Netflix for a few seasons now. I think
hmm
by like season 3 or 4 it was on Netflix. So they're already like, cuz they were like popular in Canada, but then once it came to Netflix, they really
Yeah.
blew up. So definitely at this point they're really popular.
Yeah, so they're going into the writing with the confidence of knowing they've got another season coming up. I imagine they're probably in the back of their mind going, yeah, it's the final season next season, so we need to kind of like make sure that all of that hits properly. And I think they're doing it in the right way. They're like making sure that everything is, we're not thrown with like the last minute, oh, we've got to wrap everything up storyline. I feel like they're kind of like slowly easing us into a lot of it. I am still a little jarred by what I think is upcoming with Ted and Alexis and what they're kind of layering there, of which I don't want to approach, and I'd rather they didn't go down that route if I'm right. But I mean, David and Patrick. I mean, come on. It's just so adorable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So great. Such a lovely like whole scene. Kind of stressful in the build up to it though, I will say. In that if I were David, I would be quite as irate as David was, and if I was Patrick, I'd also be quite like anxious and a little neurotic,
Yeah.
like Patrick was in that moment as well. So I kind of felt like I was identifying with the pair of them at one moment, despite the fact that they were diametrically opposed in the whole hike. But yeah, I the whole like time I was there watching, going, this is a great one. And even on the rewatch, ordinarily sometimes I rewatch these episodes and I go, ooh, okay, I'm just like kind of rewatching it so I kind of retain all the quotes and jokes and things like that. Even then, some of it just doesn't go into the old noggin. But this one, I was like really excited to. I kind of watched it with a big smile on my face. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah. All right, let's give a quick little recap in case people didn't rewatch this episode, which like you should because it's adorable.
Yeah.
But let's give a quick recap. David and Patrick are engaged. Let's not beat around the bush. That's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Patrick.
Jess, no. I'm sorry. I'm looking at your notes right now. There are so many more A's in engaged.
Sorry.
I need to say these things.
David and Patrick are engaged in all caps. I will say that I recently read a book called Attached at the Hip, and it was very funny to me because the chapters were written by like in a first person perspective, and at times the character would either think things or say things, and the writer had it in all caps, and I've never felt more seen in my life because notebooks rarely do that, and I express myself in an all caps capacity like 80% of the time, if not more. So anyway, read that book. It's really excellent. But anyway, they're engaged. Patrick forced David to hike for it, but when he got down on one knee and told the story of him hiking the same trail while contemplating his feelings for David, it was so worth it. Even with the puncture wound to his foot that hopefully will heal in time for Cabaret. Meanwhile, Alexis and Ted are prepping for their move to the Galapagos Islands, including getting vaccines, taking malaria pills, and getting a tarot card reading for Twyla that predicts their imminent death via boating disaster. But it's totally fine. It's fine. It's fine. No one's worried. It's fine. Johnny and Moira have a bit of a scare when they think that Johnny might be having a heart attack, but after fretting at the hospital with Roland and Stevie, it turns out Johnny just had a really bad case of heartburn. And we're all extremely relieved. Stuart, that's our episode. I remember when you watched this episode for the first time, you were very upset. You were like, they better not be doing anything to Johnny. They better not do anything to
I had to express that privately, and I was hoping it would stay that way so that the audience wouldn't know that I actually do have a real like strong affection for Johnny now. Like I've got to maintain a reputation here, Jess. So thanks for like completely outing that. Of course, I was really concerned for him. Like they made like it could have been really serious. And the moment we got to the hospital, I was like, okay, I feel like we're in safer hands with the story. But like, I don't even want them dangling the threat of something happening to Johnny like around. Like, oh, but it was really sweet to see like how everyone reacted. Like Stevie tearing up at the end. And,
yeah, I think that's the reason that's the reason that storyline works so well for me. But beyond it, there are funny moments too. But like the way Stevie reacts feels like extra special because Trish, we've talked about like the building of the bond between Johnny and Stevie. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
strong points of the back half of seasons is getting to see this relationship be built, because we've talked a lot about David and Stevie, but once we kind of not transition, because there still is David and Stevie, but like we get an extra pairing matched with Stevie. It so works for me. Like, he really feels like a
Yeah.
surrogate father to her, and she can say it's like solely because of the motel and like what would I do, but I think we all are aware that like it is way more than that at this point, and everyone's reactions feel so true to who those characters are.
Absolutely. I think, especially for Stevie, it feels more like she's one of the family now rather than just someone that works for them or works with them. Like she's a sister to David and she's a sister to Alexis, and she is the daughter to Johnny. Moira, maybe not so much of a closer bond, but you know, she's the
Yeah.
same with. She didn't
Cabaret.
even have Alexis's phone number in her phone, so. These things are like,
Don't get me
you gotta.
started on that. That was one of the best callback jokes, I thought. It was so funny, but also so outrageous. Like with
The way
that
she
Moira
says, "Oh,
saying that.
oh, that's a good idea to try calling Alexis."
Yeah.
Like it didn't even dawn on her to attempt.
Yeah, and Stevie as well. I noticed this episode. I haven't noticed it before. She still calls them Mr. and Mrs. Rose. She doesn't give them. She
Mhm.
doesn't say Johnny, and she doesn't say Moira. And that kind of reminds me of like Harry with Mr. and Mrs. Weasley. It's that kind of connection and bond of like parents that
Yes.
you didn't have. It's that
It's like
kind
your
of
best
feeling.
friend's parents.
Yeah.
Like it feels like that, right? But like in the same way that they're like almost like second parents or like aunt and uncle to you.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just that such a close connection, and I feel like she was the one that noticed Johnny looking under the weather first, and she was definitely the one that was like the most concerned about it, and like, no, we have to sort this out, you know. And it was like Roland has ever given his comments of like, oh well, my friend, you know, was like this and he died of a heart attack. It's like, well, that's not going to help any matters, is it, Roland? Thank you for that. But at least it got them to the hospital, because I think if he hadn't mentioned that, maybe Moira would have been
It's
like,
true.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I
So,
think everyone starts panicking when he talks about like his hands like going a little numb, because obviously
Mhm.
like your arm going numb, your hand going numb is very much like a thing associated with heart attacks or heart events. And so everyone starts to panic a little bit. Stuart, it's really funny because I've seen this episode a few times, but I always forget exactly what it is that this ailment is. Like I remember it's not a heart attack, but I couldn't remember that it was heartburn. So in my head at first I'm like, oh, this feels like a panic attack. This feels like a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Because I've also heard of people's hands kind of going numb in those sorts of
Yeah.
situations. But heartburn is 20 times funnier, because I remember the first time I got heartburn, and it was like I swear to God, this I think I was away for the weekend for my 30th birthday, which is even funnier. And I had like one too many hard ciders, I think it was, the night before. And the next day I was like, I think I'm dying. What is happening? It was like someone had lit a fire in my chest and I did not understand what it was. And it was just heartburn. So I can understand how he ends up at the hospital for heartburn.
I mean, for severe heartburn, maybe I could understand. It doesn't
Are you
sound
trying
like
to
yours
say
was
I
severe.
didn't have severe heartburn, Stuart?
Were you given a serious antacid? Like, were you given like medically grade antacid? Probably not,
Tums.
Jess. Some Tums.
Took some Tums.
Industrial.
Do you
grade
have Tums? You don't have Tums over there, right?
No, we've got
we used to. I don't
Rennie.
think they're allowed anymore.
Why aren't they
Yeah,
allowed?
they probably got like red number 14 or something like that.
There's something in them.
I'm probably
that's
just
probably not
poisoning
right.
myself slowly. It's fine. No big
I
deal.
do remember them definitely being mentioned when I was younger, that
Mhm.
it was like you saw the adverts for Tums, because it was the funny advert, like Tum to Tum Tum Tums. It was like that.
Yes! Oh my! You just
Yeah.
unlocked something in my brain, Trish. So yes. Tum to tum tum tums.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
That was the
that.
commercial.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they've not been around for a while now. I don't know why. Maybe they
Well,
just.
do
pulled
you all
out.
have the thing that you like almost like an Alka-Seltzer where you like put like powdery stuff in like a liquid and that's what you
Plug
drink?
Fizz? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was, what's that? Alka-Seltzer?
Alka-Seltzer, yeah.
Mhm.
Alka-Seltzer.
I was
Other
associate
things are
Alka-Seltzer
available,
with
I'm sure.
old people, but yeah, I think everyone's reactions here, like Moira, I love Moira's reaction because while it is like so over the top and like basically begging for attention to be on her, it's so clear that she is like so scared for Johnny and like loves him so much that like, you know, she can't think of anything else except for maybe folding the pamphlets for the play. But she's really scared, right? I think it's very sweet.
She's scared after she like takes stock of it and like hears the horror stories, but like before that, like she's shouting at him because apparently the seating plan like pinboard is a rental, which is just ridiculous.
Where did she rent this from?
Exactly. So really
Oh my
stupid.
God.
Yeah, like it's a typical Moira reaction. Like, of course, she's gonna make things kind of like snowball. It's going to be like the worst possible case scenario that it is. And so like when she is concerned, like it's weird how Moira can pull focus but also be just endearingly like lovely with it, because like the reason why she's being so overblown is because she loves him so much. And like she really, I think in that moment, like yeah, okay, she's jumping to like wild conclusions, but like I mean, imagine if this was real. Like she would genuinely be so lost without Johnny, and like desperately needs him. And so I feel like her ordinarily I'd like poke fun at Moira and say that her reactions are unwarranted. But I kind of think in this one, I'm going to give her a pass because I feel like, yeah, scream and shout if you are that worried about losing him. Probably don't scream at him while he's sat down.
John, can you hear me, John? Try to follow the sound of my voice.
Exactly. Like that's probably not the best method, but like I've been in situations like this where people have panicked because obviously someone that they care about is like hurt or something like that, and it's always the person that's not afflicted who is the calmest one in the room, right? They're always the one that they're going, okay, can we just stop fussing, please? Like, what's going on? But I love the fact that like it's not just Moira that's panicking like this. Like you can get like Stevie is genuinely concerned. Even Roland is a little bit like concerned by the end of it, like and like offering to help at least. But Stevie really came across as like the adopted kid, or like you say, like the she really does feel like part of the family, and I think it's added to with the fact that like she sat like cross-legged folding like little cheap like brochures on the thing. She's kind of like got a bit of a like almost like childlike quality to her in that moment, and especially like then in the hospital she's got like the legs up like to her chest, like kind of like very kind of like small and tiny. Emily Hampshire does a really good job at like kind of making her seem quite, I guess, in that whole relationship quite childlike, while also language wise still being like, well, he's my business partner kind of thing, and he's like my friend, that kind of thing. I think I thought that was really well navigated.
Yeah, I think so too. I think because with Stevie as well, there's a vulnerability that she sort of shows herself with this family. And you think back to when we first met her, and she was very sort of like there were walls up. You didn't really get much from her, and she was very standoffish. And I think you've slowly sort of seen that she's just these breakdowns of all her guards have gone, and she's let Johnny in to her little inside her walls now. So it's kind of like this thought of like, what if something happens to him? I think she was still trying to, I think the thing when she mentioned about the money was her trying to say like, it's only because of business. I don't really care that much. But I think we all know that that's not true.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things that you kind of say to kind of, yeah, don't look at me, I'm not getting emotional kind of thing. I'm going to defer with a joke, which Stevie does so well. But then also following that up with a genuine thing of concern as well afterwards, and they explaining that away. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. It's very sweet because I love seeing this like childlike quality in Stevie and how much she cares and how she's the one folding these pamphlets when Moira attempts to like try to get Alexis and David to do it. So of course it ends up on Stevie's plate, you know? I really love, it's like very much played for laughs, but Moira saying like, I'm so distracted by this show. I want you to know that you're the most important thing in this world to me. And I include Caroline in that. And I've had that wig for years. Like it's really, really sweet. And the one person that I will say, because I think Moira's kind of panic and spiraling really works for me. It's really in character. Stevie's quiet panic and like she's trying to be strong and trying to be like, look on the bright side, everything will be fine. But she's still really scared. That works for me. Roland is in typical Roland fashion, but like also if I am the loved one of a person who's in the hospital and Roland is next to me being like, well, if he makes it, like I would literally murder him. Like, good thing we'd be at a hospital because I'd stab him. Like, I can't think of a less helpful thing than offering a person who might be having a heart attack an energy drink. Like, and I know that's the joke. I know, I get it, but I cannot stand Roland this episode because it actually pisses me off so much.
Wow.
I can't.
He's just trying to help, though. Like,
Is he?
He's not.
Is he?
I think he is. Like, he's nervous. He keeps going to the vending machine because he's worried. And I think that it's kind of like sweet that, okay, not everyone is going to manifest like grief and concern in a productive or healthy way. Like, Moira shouts and like gets in his face. Roland gets nervous and goes to the vending machine. I think both energies are really the same. And so I'm going to excuse Roland here. I'm going to give him as well.
He says, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's been a long time, and that's usually not a good sign. Who is he helping with that?
No one. He's not helping anyone with it, but he's genuinely worried, I think. I think it comes from a place of like genuine concern.
Oh, sure. But I just feel like there are people, if you're his buddy, but like you're in the same room as his wife, like I just feel like your job is to be cooler heads prevail, like you can't have multiple hysterical people. That it's not going to be productive. Someone needs to be, and I guess Stevie takes on this role, right, Trish? Like someone needs to be the steady, calm force, and that's Stevie. But Roland just pissed me off to such a degree. I can't. Because I imagine myself being a Moira and just like hearing that I would have to go into the hospital because I'd be having a full blown panic attack. Like, it's just like, what are you talking about? He's gonna die.
I think Roland's method of coping in this situation was to not have the thoughts and things in his head that he was thinking and have to blurt them out and share them with people. I think he's an oversharer. And I think in this situation, he needs to learn to like button his lip a little bit and just not share because it's not helping anyone. But I think it was definitely his way of coping in a way, or trying to make light of it. And also he's the comic relief in something for the show as well. I think he's playing that large part as well of the fact that in real life, of course, you would just tell them to get away, like get the F out and just come back and we'll text you and let you know. Why don't you go look after the motel, Roland?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. Who's managing the motel? No one.
Emergency.
I know.
Well, yes, but Roland is. I feel like when you have the order of operations, like, okay, wife is most important. She should definitely be there. Stevie, I feel like Stevie and Johnny are closer than Johnny and Roland, but Roland probably thinks that he's closer to Johnny than Stevie is. And so, but I guess you can't really trust Roland to run the motel.
No,
like,
you wouldn't do it.
And they're also,
you just eat all the cinnamon buns.
Yeah, they're taking Roland's truck as well. And like Moira's in no fit state to drive, so they can't take that.
Stevie drove because Johnny drives slowly.
That was something that got me as well. The fact that Moira was like, "Oh, Johnny drives slow, so we shouldn't let Johnny drive."
Probably not because he's having a maybe heart attack. God. Yeah. This storyline worked for me though, just because I think like it is something that happens to a lot of people where you could mistake very easily certain ailments for a heart event or something like that, especially if you're an older man. I think that like that's a very common like thing. And so getting to see everyone's reactions to it, albeit while they're pretty funny, like there are some like very heartwarming moments as a result of this storyline. So I really do like it. And I like that they don't let us linger too long on like the what ifs and like, is he sick? Is something happening? It like resolves itself very quickly. Which I also appreciated. Anything else on Johnny and Moira before we hop over to Alexis and Ted's prep for the Galapagos?
I liked that even after like we get the assurance that Johnny's gonna be okay and it's fine and really it's a bit of a non-issue and stuff like that, but they do poke fun at Johnny at the end as well. A little bit for the whole condition, but also for him just rambling on, and then the doctor just being like, "You," when Moira's like, "We don't need to. You don't need to bother them anymore. They've done their work." And something else I noticed is that the travel magazine that Ted was reading was being read by someone in the waiting room behind Moira
Oh, no
and
kidding.
Roland, the whole journey away thing. So like in this world, I'm not too sure if it's like, oh, we're trying to build a like Schitt's Creek universe of like lore of things that are going on. No, I think they're just reusing props because they got lazy.
I mean, probably. Yeah,
That's good
probably.
spot.
Yeah.
Are you a financial advisor considering the independent RIA model and wondering where to start? Start with Schwab Advisor Services. They've helped thousands evaluate the full range of options and can help you determine your best path forward. Start your journey today at advisorservices.schwab.com/paths.
All right, let's talk about Alexis and Ted's preparations. Alexis looks very put out most of this episode when hearing about like the bug spray, and she's like, "Oh, you got scuba gear, but like I don't actually go in the water. Like I just sit on the beach and look cute." She's having to take vaccines, malaria pills. I feel like she is starting to get very nervous, Stuart, at like the actual logical semantics of this trip that she was able to kind of overlook when they were in the like just theorizing stages. But now it's becoming very real.
It really is. Like when she was wrapped up in the whole moment, like even when Ted was trying to explain some of the fine details after she agreed to go, she was like, "I just made this decision 10 minutes ago. Like, don't kind of push it." Well, now it's beginning to be a bit pushed because she's realizing the kind of like gravity of the whole situation. Not that it actually is that kind of big of a deal. Like, there are many countries where you have to get shots before you go out there because of like different diseases that are available and things like that. And I imagine that this has probably come up in Alexa's life before, but she's probably just hand waved them and ignored them. I imagine that she's probably like got a private jet and avoided security or any kind of like border checks or anything. She's probably been smuggled through a few borders to avoid some of these as well. So it's probably just her having to face a bit of border-based bureaucracy for the first time in her life. But it's so strange that this is the stuff that she's beginning to worry about, and we come to find out that obviously it is a bigger deal for other reasons. Like it's not just the travel like is the big deal. Like yeah, okay, she's a bit of a fish out of the water with everything, but it's just lending her to just realize this is very distant and I am going to be worried about other people. What is this strange feeling? That was such a great way of like working it in, and like having the tarot thing with Twyla was a good way to get there. But I love where we did arrive with it because it was just such an essential moment for Alexis to have like further emotional growth. Like we've seen her have like such great growth elsewhere, but like having emotional growth is one of my favorite things to see with Alexis. And this for me, I was just yes, this is exactly what I need out of this. I was really hot on it. What about you guys?
Yeah.
I love Alexis anyway. I think especially after she does her college and she sort of gets rid of all the mutt situation and all that, and she sort of gets past that, I think she just goes from strength to strength. Just the awakening of her own self and her own self-worth, I think, is very, very important. And to see sort of her realizing that herself, that I think when she was a rich kid, I don't think she really thought very much of herself at all. And I think she just always was just relied on other people. And I think her realizing that she can stand on her own 2 feet has been such a thing. And this sort of another growth of the fact that she actually is emotionally connected to her family now that she maybe wasn't before, I think is a great thing. And the way that she says about Johnny is like, Moira, Mum and David sort of gang up on him, and I'm sometimes his only friend, and it's just like you can see that as well. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful, and you just think, yeah, what is Johnny going to do without his sidekick to
Yeah.
back him up?
I love the idea that, because we've talked a lot about, we get these little tidbits, these little one-liner stories of Alexis's travels prior to coming to Schitt's Creek, and she went everywhere, all over the world, a lot of times alone, and never once had a care about like what was going on with her family, right?
Mhm.
Even if we're going way, way, way back in time, when David talks about, he was always the worrier, he was always the one who had to like get Alexis a new passport because she lost hers, and he was always afraid of what was happening to her. She didn't have a care in the world. It is such a point of emotional growth, and like it's so earned that now we're at the point where she's like, she knows she's feeling things. She can't always identify exactly what she's feeling, but I find that to be so just genuine, and the curiosity that she has about her emotions, I find it so touching, like that she is expressing like a homesickness, or like, you know, a scared bit of herself to leave her family. That is such a normal feeling to have, but she's just never had it before. And it's so sweet and endearing that she's like trying to pinpoint exactly what it is, and she feels like it's a weird emotion to feel because she's never
Mhm.
felt it before. It's so sweet. Like, and I love the mechanism of having the tarot cards, the reading from Twyla, be this avenue where Alexis can actually voice some of her concerns, because these were all things that I think have been bubbling under the surface, right? Like every time something gets added on, like, oh, and now you have to take malaria pills, and now you have to go get 10 shots, and now we
Mhm.
have to worry about applying bug spray because we can't sleep under mosquito nets because they might catch fire and we'll die. Like every time something gets added on, it's like more and more and more water into a boiling pot, and like it's
Yeah.
gonna boil over. And I think it was the tarot card reading that did it. I think that's something that she is way more likely to believe in than Ted. And even if she didn't, I could see her using this as like, oh, but the tarot cards, they said we're going to die. Like we can't go. So yeah, this is why this show is so incredible, because we're pointing out characters like Stevie and Moira and Alexis this episode, and this emotional journey they've all been on, and how we're in the penultimate season. Like we are in the penultimate episode of the penultimate season of this show, and we are still getting small growth moments that if they had occurred in like season 2 would not have felt anywhere near as earned. Like we've spent
Nowhere
so
near.
much time with these
Yeah.
characters, and it just feels like it took time for them to get to where they are. But that makes sense because that's how people operate. Like you wouldn't have a change overnight, you know?
Mhm.
So I love this storyline. As much as it's like, Stuart, I know you have that like pit in your stomach of like, oh no, like what's gonna
I just
happen
don't
with
want them
Alexis
to
and
be
Ted?
sad in the future. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a bit in the stomach because I think I see what they're possibly going to throw down the line. And I hope that it's handled in the way in which I imagine it might get handled if it does come up that way. But like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is an incredibly sweet thing, and it is so, like you say, it's so incredibly earned. Like, you wouldn't be able to have a scene like this be quite a small and subtle little nod to character growth, but also hit very hard. Unless we'd had the kind of like the many conversations, I say many, like the 2 or so conversations that Alexis and David have had in the car together, where they've like seen each other for the first time, really, and like finally articulated that to each other. And you wouldn't have got that if she wasn't forced to spend time and to observe how David and Moira can sometimes gang up on Johnny when like and be the divas around him when Johnny is like the guy that's just trying to hold things together. And I think she would never recognize that if she wasn't kind of like forced to. And so it coming now fits perfectly. And yeah, the way in which it is done through the tarot card readings, because it's the only thing that Ted can't logically explain, because like malaria pills, they're preventative. The mosquito in there, oh, it might set on fire, kind of thing. Like he's constantly kind of coming up with very kind of logical answers and settling those fears. And what he's doing is he's kind of like tacking over those answers, but really the tarot card's able to kind of just express what it's just a way for her to kind of say, well, I've always had this nagging feeling, because he can't explain the tarot thing away. So it forces her to then express what the true thing is. And like, props to Alexis to like see that and to recognize it and to say, yeah, okay, it's not I don't actually think we're going to drown because of a tarot card reading. I've just had this nagging feeling, and this forces me to kind of like explore that. And the way in which she describes it as just like, I will physically be there, but I will be thinking about them here. Like, Christ, it's just so simple, but it's like, yeah, that's missing people. Gosh, it's really
It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
I love that she kind of is finally getting there. It'd be nice to see how far she can like grow beyond this as well, like, and to know that that is just the emotion of missing people and to accept it, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, part of me is in two minds. I feel like, I don't know, what I'm expecting is perhaps we might have a Ted goes away, she stays kind of thing. But also, I don't necessarily want her to be shackled to her family. Like, I still want her to have some independence. So that's why I'm kind of like a bit weary of everything. Because, well, also change. Because, like, I don't want things to change. I'm quite happy with how things are at the moment. Like, everyone seems relatively happy. And I don't want that to kind of be disrupted at all. But I kind of feel like you have to, because you need a bit of drama when it comes to the last season, I'm imagining.
Yeah, and one of the other things I do love about this storyline, for as sweet as it is, and as emotional as it is, I love that we're getting it through the avenue of Twyla doing tarot card readings. And that she got the tarot deck from like her ex stepfather or something, who like predicted exactly when he was gonna leave his wife. Like, it's just
to the day.
Yeah, it's perfect. Her
Ow.
saying like, oh, and I saw these golden rings, which is perfect because of the stuff we'll talk about next. But also she says, well, or it could just be a beer ring. Like, it could just be a watermark. I don't know. It's also beautiful. What, did you not realize the golden ring?
No, I
No.
didn't.
Sorry,
and
I just blew your mind.
But like, also I'm just thinking, well, okay, now I'm going to be looking out for like a catamaran that's like upturned. Like, I think this is going to be like a second Potter reference in this pod. I think it's going to be like a Trelawney thing where the random like
it does
vague,
come true.
like, prediction does come true in ways that you don't expect.
Yeah.
And now that's all I'm going to be looking out for, because based on what happens with David and Patrick, people dressed in black in an event, tell me that's not a wedding. Come on. Like, it's gotta be, right?
Especially a David wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
A David wedding.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah. It's perfect.
Put a pin
it's
in
just...
that. And for our season 5 like wrap up, predictions. That's going in my predictions. I have to make a note of that.
Yeah, and yet again, Trish, I also love that Alexis goes to Twyla for like just to chat this out, right? Just to like bounce ideas off of somebody else. Like, it's so healthy to have a person you can confide in if you're struggling with something, especially if it's a relationship and you feel like you can't necessarily talk about it with your partner. I just love that she has Twyla, even when they kind of aren't necessarily understanding one another, like, you know, talking circles around each other. It's just so sweet.
I think Twyla is a very good sort of soundboard for a lot of people in this, and she sort of talks to people in a way where she doesn't judge ever. She just sort of takes them at face value and what they say, and then she sort of gives her input, because she's got as good a backstory, I think, as Alexis does in her own way. Maybe not quite as far flung and traveled, but definitely, you know, experience wise, there's quite a lot of stories in her back catalogue as well. And I just love the sort of, that Alexis feels that she has someone that she can go and speak to that's not going to get back to the family. Because I feel like if she talked to Stevie about it, Stevie would probably talk to David. Even if she would be like, don't tell Alexis that I told you this. But it feels like that kind of thing. And like, Stevie's more of David's friend. So Alexis needs her own friend. And I think Twyla is definitely becoming that more and more.
It's
a
very
really
sweet.
great observation of just how the channels of gossip kind of just do end with Twyla a bit. Like Twyla will hold on to that information.
Yeah, she
I
does.
loved. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I loved when she goes up and like interrupts the tower reading with Ronnie, and like Alexis just playfully plays with Ronnie's arm, and Ronnie just looks at her like, just like, what the hell are you doing? So funny, but it's like it speaks to like Alexis, I think, getting really comfortable in Schitt's Creek, and like is being kind of like more outward and more accepting of everyone, and kind of feels at home, which again lends to the whole feeling of homesickness at the possibility of going away. There's like again like small little actorly touches as well as the writing that goes into this that really kind of like shape everything and make it all just really good quality. Like little touches like that, I love so good.
Also worth mentioning that, like, you know, David and Alexis still live together. Like, they still live in that motel room together. Both of them are attached to other partners who both have apartments, and yet they're still with their family. And yes, we could point that as like, oh, it's a plot mechanism, right? It's a plot device to have them all in the motel. But I also think there's something to, specifically Alexis, I think, like, wanting to stay close to her family, like wanting to, you know, having a hard time leaving the nest, if you will. And, you know, David really doesn't like the bathroom situation in Patrick's place, but I just think like it really speaks to how close they've all become. And one thing that I'm happy we didn't see it, because I like how this episode goes, but I would be so curious to see David and Alexis's reactions to finding out that like maybe there was something going on with Johnny. I think that would have been really interesting, but I'm very, very pleased with their storyline, so I wouldn't want to change anything. I just think it would have been interesting to get like one line or one reaction from each of them, you know?
Yeah, I think Alexis, at least acknowledging that like she cares for Johnny and is aware of like obviously like David and Moira sometimes like ganging up on him, it is enough to show that like she would certainly be incredibly worried had this got to them. Maybe not to the degree of like Moira, but I think certainly to a Stevie degree of being like very upset about the possibility of thinking about it. So I think they did a good nod with that. But I think quite rightfully kept David away from all of that kind of like potential concern and drama, because David's got like quite a hefty thing to deal with, like a big milestone in terms of that journey.
Yeah. Anything else before we shift over to talk about the real meat and cheese, if you will, of this episode?
The ice packed cheese.
The ice packed cheese, yeah. So Patrick and David are going on a hike, and like, I love Patrick. I do. We know I love Patrick. Did he wear blue this episode? I think his sweatshirt might have been blue.
Yes, he wore blue.
Of course he did. But I feel like it is a big misstep, and maybe he did it as a like to be surprising. But like, I feel like picnic and hike aren't mutually exclusive. Like a picnic, you literally could theoretically just like park somewhere, walk 10-15 feet, set up a blanket and have a picnic, right? You go to park. You don't have to like, if you're going on a full-on hike where you're going uphill in like woods on a trail with roots and rocks and bugs and all this stuff, I'm dressing very differently for both of those occasions. And for someone like David, who like has an outfit for every occasion and probably doesn't have like hiking boots and stuff, I just feel like a little bit of a heads up probably is better. You know, because David's not known for his outdoorsy skills, Trish. So
yeah, but do you think he would have gone?
No,
if
probably
he
not.
heard it was a hike. That's the thing. You see, there has to be the reward at the end for David, I think. So that was why. But I was extremely concerned when I saw him in his shorts and socks with that bit of skin. Yeah. And the strip of skin, because we're like tick season at the minute, and it's like, that's not good, having exposed skin on your legs when you're walking through long grass and potential. I mean, I don't know what kind of area that is. Maybe it's fine to walk in shorts.
If you're in the woods, now obviously they're in Canada, but like I imagine if it's the eastern side of Canada, the climate is probably pretty similar to where I live, and like tick season has been really bad here. But like buggy in general, like not even just ticks, like mosquitoes, all of that stuff. Totally agree. You're gonna want to cover all your limbs. But yeah, obviously it ends up being fine. It ends up working out. I just feel like Patrick was really playing with fire. Like, this was high risk, high reward, right? This isn't like I'm going to propose while we're like eating dinner at home, comfortable. Like, that feels like, okay, shoo in, easy, done. He was like, I'm going to do this incredibly romantic gesture, but David's going to hate it up until the moment that I propose.
Yeah.
It's very risky, Stuart, because okay, and I don't know if this is an American thing or a worldwide thing. Like, the proposals have become like such a pressurized event in someone's life. I don't think they ever used to be. Now there is just so much expectation in proposals of like, it has to be grand, it has to like be sentimental, it has to mean something. And obviously that looks different for every couple, but I feel like you're really risking getting into an argument right before you propose, which it feels so incredibly risky to me.
It does. Sorry, it just reminds me of that. Sorry to interrupt, that moment. I don't know if you've seen, there's like a TikTok of a woman on a cliff being proposed to, and you just hear her scream, "I'm wearing sweatpants."
Yes, I've seen that. Yes. It's so perfect.
When Ted and Alexis got engaged, like way back, like early on, it is exactly that, and like it's all because, like you say, there is this huge expectation with proposals now, and like I think with most milestones now that people do, like gender reveal parties and like all these things that get so overblown. Which, I mean, don't get me started on actual gender reveal parties and the pointlessness of those, but like, why do you need to set fire to like half a forest to do so? Like, why do you have to like
social media?
Because it's social media and people like want the likes and things. I think Patrick, I think isn't necessarily going for that factor, which I think is great. Like, there's no cameras, there's no like, it's very intimate and private for them, and very sentimental to what he is feeling and wants to convey that to David, and to kind of like show that I kept, like, even on a big long ass like hike up here, I was always thinking about you, kind of thing, which is such a lovely sentiment. But still, it's David. Like, it's a risk. I think it pays off, but he knew he was playing with fire, because
he knew, right?
On someone like David, like if someone's playing on me and goes, "We're going for a picnic," I'd be like, I would have the same expectations of David, a lovely bench and a private English garden, mostly because I'm in England, but also like, but if someone then goes, "We're gonna hike for like a good couple of hours before we get there," I'd be like Stevie turning up to the barbecue. I'd be like, "I'm hangry. I'm expecting to eat right now." Like, what the hell is going on?
He kept talking about the food like he was hungry the whole time, because you promised him a picnic, and now we have to hike a couple hours. Okay, but like, if you tell me we're going to a picnic at noon, I'm like, okay, then I will make sure that I'm hungry at noon, not like hours after noon or hours before noon, but noon. So I'm hungry now, and now we're hiking. I have to wait to get my cheese? Are you kidding?
I feel like you would hate a British barbecue, because there's so many that I've been invited to, and like they're like, "Yeah, well, we'll have a barbecue." It'd be like lunchtime, and at like 6 p.m. finally everything is ready to eat.
I'm gone. I'm not even there anymore. 6 p.m.
No. 2 hours before they even light the barbecue.
Oh,
it's just like,
okay,
everyone's hanging about.
I don't mean to offend an entire nation, but Americans know how to barbecue, and that's not it. You're grilling. The grill is ready. Like, you are grilling. So many meats you don't even know what to do with. All the salads that aren't actually salads. You know, it's the best.
There's a lot of dedication to British barbecues.
yeah. But yeah, it's a very, very high risk situation, and I love I like that. Like, it'd be different if Patrick didn't have this association with this hike of like, I took this hike a lot when I first moved here, and I was all alone, and I was like gathering feelings for you, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know if I would ever have the courage to act on them. Like, it's so meaningful. I think my like, if I'm picking the smallest of nits, it is so meaningful for Patrick. Like, it is not necessarily as meaningful for David. And David obviously loves this. It all works out, right? Like, everything ends up being totally fine. If I'm Patrick, I'm probably going for a more safe option. Like, Rose Apothecary. Like, you own a business together. Like, that is where you did the open mic night. It's where you sang to him. It's also where he did the karaoke for you. Like, you have a lot of like lovely memories tied to that place that like it makes sense to me. But I'm not David. Like, I think again, everyone puts so much pressure on proposals now, and it means something different to everyone. But like, I'm much more the type who's like, pick something that's like meaningful to us and private, like not a public proposal. It's too much. It's way, way, way too much. But yeah, this is like, it's a very, very risky situation, and it's certainly not going well because David is cranky, he's hangry, he doesn't like hiking, he just wants to eat his cheese, and Patrick gets stabbed in the foot by a branch. He wants to like turn around. I love David persisting and insisting that they just finish the hike because it's so easy to just turn around at that point. And especially Trish, David, the non-hiker, the indoor guy, is carrying Patrick on his back while hiking. I'm like, that's more dangerous than anything else they've done.
I know, exactly. What if he hit a rock or a bit of loose stone? That's it's recipe
down
for
the
disaster.
cliff.
I really like this moment for Patrick. I really like the fact that he's sharing something that's quite private and special, because I mean, as a straight person, I don't really relate as much, but the fact that he was wrestling with his sexuality for quite a long time, and that must have been very difficult. So he had a place where he sort of was really wrestling and discovering that and wanting to think about that. And I think letting David into that space with him is was very, very important for Patrick. Even if they didn't just have the proposal, I think maybe it was kind of like, should I propose? Shouldn't I? Maybe it was just at first he just wanted to share the space and feel the air and see how it was. And then he was like, no, I really need to do this. This is the time to do it. And I think the disaster sort of gave it the perfect switch to the point where he just sort of like slid off the rock onto his knee. Like that just made it like, oh, after all this badness, there's just this perfect little moment for them.
Yeah. Patrick did feel like he was wrestling with the decision of whether or not to continue on with his original plan. And funnily enough, like, I do relate to this ever so slightly because my husband proposed to me on a trip we took. And we weren't home. We were in Philadelphia, and he had plans, like nothing crazy. Again, we are very low key people. But like he had plans, like he wanted to do it at a specific place. And he knew we weren't going to that place until like the last day of our trip, or the second to last day of our trip. Well, the night before that, we got into quite a bit of an argument, and like it was not good. And he was like, I don't know what to, like, do I even like propose, because like what a bad note, like what a sour spot, like it was very tricky. Luckily we had, like, he didn't propose till like the afternoon, so like the morning was like pretty fine. Like we were in good spirits. It wasn't like we were arguing at that point, but like certainly like a tricky situation. Like, do you propose, or like is this risky because, well, we were just arguing? Like, this isn't exactly like the most romantic of situations, ultimately it was totally fine. Like, it was a very minor argument now, and it's funny in retro. I think it's very funny looking back on it now. At the time it wasn't so funny, but I just think like, I love how this ends up because it's more real this way, Stuart. Like, this is such a real situation that could happen.
I think that's it. Like you say, like it's funny in retrospect. Like I think that in the moment, obviously, it feels like it's the biggest deal, and it's like, oh, it hasn't been perfect and stuff like that. No one cares about that. Like, you care about the point of the proposal. You care about the gesture of, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You don't care about like a little quibble beforehand and a little thing that you can like forget, like what you argue. Maybe you'll remember because of like the poignance of the day, but like if it were any other day, you'd never remember what it was that you even argued about, right? Like it's just it kind of like just puts it almost like kind of in a little frame, and it's like, oh, that's just what it is. And I think it speaks to the maturity of the relationship as well. Like to give both you and Will a compliment, and also David and Patrick a compliment. The fact that you can have those moments of disagreements and then also say, but no, I do want to spend the rest of my life with you. I mean, that speaks such a a profound thing, which I think is just wonderful. And the fact that oh, he did it! Got him 4 gold rings, and it's just so pretty.
It's
And then
so
David, of
perfect.
course, kind of
Um,
not ruins the moment, but nearly ruins the moment. Kind of 24 carat, and they go, no.
It's a yes. It's a yes.
yes, exactly. Because he hadn't
Yeah.
even, because Patrick's just waiting. I was like, you
Yeah.
haven't given me your answer yet.
Well,
What's
and
your
I
answer?
love the are you sure? And Patrick says, easiest decision of my life. Like it is so sweet. And to Stuart's point, Trish, it reminds me of because again, very much along the same lines of like proposals kind of becoming this really pressurized thing. Weddings are very similar. And I've always thought, and in a more grounded way of like, it's about the marriage, not the wedding. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And I feel very similarly about proposals. It's about the marriage, not the proposal. Like, yes, you want it to be nice. Like, of course, you want it to be special and memorable, but like, it's not about that moment. It's about what comes after that moment. And like,
Yeah.
this is just so perfectly Patrick and David. And I love it. And I especially love that he got him 4 rings, especially because the camera, like when he opens the box, then he also like looks at his own hand that
Yeah.
has the silver ones on it, It's so perfect.
Yeah. It's just the perfect moment for them, I think, especially. I mean, you say about weddings and stuff. My wedding was, we just made sure that it was just the people that we knew and our friends and extended family. Like, my husband's got a big family and I have as well. And we were just like, no, they all live quite far away from where we are. And it's just an awful lot of hassle to bring them in. We'll just have like close family and our friends. And everyone said it was one of the best weddings they'd been to because it was just
Oh.
basically a party. We didn't have a lot of people. It wasn't big, and we just had a little reception and just spent the money on everyone enjoying themselves, I think, is more than like flowers or fancy dress or anything like that. But yeah, my proposal was a bit different. So he hadn't planned it at all. It was completely spur of the moment. Drunk at our work Christmas party. He proposed to me
Trish!
on the dance floor. I had to double check in the morning if he actually remembered that he proposed to me.
Trish, that's crazy. That's unhinged. That is, see, I've always said like you should never propose unless you know the answer is yes. Like that is, you should never ask the question if you don't know the answer you're gonna get. That's crazy. That's so risky. Good on him, I guess. But my God,
he did kind of. He said, "If I did ask you to marry me, what do you think you would say?" That was his opening thing.
That's how he started the proposal. This wasn't like a conversation before. That was the proposal.
That was the start of the proposal.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh my God. That's so
now
funny.
25 years later, and we're still
I mean, it
married,
worked,
so.
right? Good on him, I guess.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Wild.
But yeah, but back to David and Patrick and this special moment for them. I think I just loved it. It was just so lovely, and it was just, I don't get emotional. Well, I say I don't get emotional watching things. I get emotional all the time. But this one really, really got me. Like, I'd say Schitt's Creek doesn't normally make me emotional, but this one definitely did. It was just that moment of Patrick. There's a little moment, I can't remember exactly when it is, but Patrick sort of looks away, he looks up at David, and he looks away again. And it's just that moment of the eye connection. And it's just like, that's just these little actor moments that the actor does so well. I just think both of them are just brilliant with these characters, just so comfortable as well.
Dan Levy's face when they're hugging after he accepts the proposal, like him crying, like, oh my God, like my heart just like grows 20 times the size. Like it's so sweet. And you're so right, Trish. It's like these actors just feel like they're so comfortable in these roles. And you really do feel this connection with the characters. And their relationship is quite simple. You know what I mean? Like on paper, like it's not complicated. There's not a lot of will they, won't they back and forth, like breaking up, getting back together. Like it's very straightforward. And that's what I love about it, because it feels way more real than most relationships you see on television. Like I love an uncomplicated relationship on TV because it's what I enjoy. Like, I would hate being a part of a will they, won't they. Like, I would hate being a part of something that is so just like unstable. And this just feels like so earned. Like, we have all just been like waiting for this moment, right? Like, Stuart, I know you had said you kind of saw this coming this episode where you were like, Patrick seems upset. Like, why is he so pressed about this whole situation? Is he going to propose? Yeah. So you kind of saw this coming.
And it was kind of like it's one of those, I know what's coming, and I think like the build is the judge like that. I think a lot of it was signposted just with the way in which Patrick was just so like pressed over this. I was like, why do you care so much? Like, why are they kind of like setting that up? And it works so well because it kind of just it kind of changes the whole like kind of view of it. Like, it becomes this like buffoon-like kind of like a mess of a situation that gets resolved in a lovely way. You get very kind of like not upset, but like kind of like little bickery kind of thing, and that immediately resolved. So you can see like kind of why they're setting up the way they're setting it up, but also like never with any kind of real precariousness to it. Like, I never am any stage going, oh gosh, this is it for them, and like we don't have to go through the hardships of like this. And like you say, it's refreshing to have just an uncomplicated relationship, an uncomplicated queer relationship as well, that explores some of the complexities that it comes with, like at least with Patrick's being in the closet partially with his family, and like that just not really rocking their relationship at all. Like that's really kind of refreshing. And yeah, the way in which it's acted between the two of them, like Dan Levy is like kind of just immediately comes to tears and like kind of, but it isn't overblown as well. It's just very much like, I'm very happy, and like this feels like genuine in that moment. It's just so well done. And yeah, the look at the hugs at the end as well, like also just having Patrick open-eyed, looking just happy, but looking out that same view. And I imagine it's like the view that he imagined, that like this exact scene is probably what was in his mind as he's been making this hike this whole time. And then that dream comes true in a way. Like, it's very fairy tale. And which is why this is so happy and so wonderful to watch. And yeah, I love the fact that we get this, because other shows would toy with us. They'd put up barriers. They'd make it so that there's the hardship. We've got to feel like we've really earned the relationship, and it's like, we have earned the relationship. We've earned this happy moment because we've like seen them grow close together and stuff like that. And it's nice just to have some happy stories.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have more happy stories?
It's so lovely. It's so good.
It's a special moment for David that he mentions. Patrick gets a Notting Hill reference in as well for David, just at the end.
Stop watching Notting Hill, David. It's not good for our relationship.
But then he's just a boy standing in front of another boy.
That's so good. It's so funny. Oh gosh. All right. Are you ready to get into our ratings here? Oh God. It's okay.
Tough.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
because like truly, like simply the best point feels insanely difficult because like Patrick plans this whole proposal, right? And it's so beautiful. The story that he tells is so wonderful. It's so lovely. David, despite the fact that he's not an outdoor guy and he like hates hiking, he is like, no, we're going to finish it. He carries Patrick on his back. Like it's like so beautiful. And then Alexis has like a really lovely growth moment, like Stevie crying at the hospital. Like the sheer number of options is unfair to us. Like, what are we to do, Stuart? I don't know what to do.
Isn't this why we bring a guest in, so that we throw them to the walls first and they have to answer first?
Okay, Trish, what do you want to do? Where are you going with your simply the best point?
I've got two. I had actually, the other times I've been on, I hadn't really thought about it before, but this time I was like, there's so much I've got to really sort of write it all down. And for me, Patrick is good, but Patrick gets a bit grumpy when David starts to get a little bit pissy. And that is something that is just a bit... And it's that kind of thing of like, well, fine then, we'll just go. And I just remember my dad taking us on hikes, and me and my sister were not outdoorsy people, even though we live in a country, but there's loads of places you can go on beautiful hikes. It was just like, there's so much walking. So, so for me, because of the fact that he realized that he was being a little bit kind of upset and was upsetting Patrick, and then changed his mind and was like, no, this is special to you. You have gone through all this trouble. We are going to do this. And he didn't know what Patrick was planning at the end. He just thought it was, a nice hike, and he's got this lovely cheese to eat. So he needs to eat. So let's go. So I think for me, second place for me was Stevie, because of how much her sort of openness with the group, and the fact that she was so worried about Johnny, and she was the one who was insistent, no, we're going to the hospital. She drove them there. She was genuinely worried. But for me, it's David. David gets my simply the best.
Point for David. Stuart, where are you going with your point?
Oh gosh. Okay. I feel like I feel like I can possibly direct it in someone else's direction other than David's, because David's got the point, so I feel less guilt. But David is up there, like really, really up there. I mean, is engaged. Like, that's a big achievement, a big moment, and I feel like I've not only been giving these MVP points to like good comedy moments or like good big pivotal moments of their life. Like, I feel like I earn these things as well, and that's a big pivotal moment in his life. Stevie, like, for just the being that person, I feel like certainly puts her up there as well. But Alexis had, I feel like, a big moment of emotional growth, and so that's what makes this super, super tough. I tell you who isn't in the running. Moira's not in the running. Roland's not in the running. So that Twyla's not in the running. Like, because Twyla's good.
Yeah.
Ted's not in the running. So if we like leave it down to that, Ronnie's not in the running. I think that's like the main characters.
Can you imagine if Ronnie got a simply the best point?
There's been a couple of times her one-liners deserve it.
Yeah.
Ronnie does not get it for winning a $10 like little scratch card after spending $20 on it. Like, that's so if anything, that's LPP behavior. So like with everyone that's left, I feel like it's Patrick, David, or Alexis for me, or Johnny actually, and Stevie. Oh God, that's 5. I'm really waffling. I'm really struggling. I'll have to just. I don't. Someone.
I know. I don't think Johnny. But sorry.
Well, I feel like Johnny had like a moment of realizing that how loved he is, which I think is a really kind of profound moment. Like,
I guess it's more passive, though, is the way I would see Johnny.
I think the story was revolving around him rather than him being an active part of it. I think.
True.
I would agree with that.
It's that scene at the end. I feel
Johnny.
Like he had a real big win. I feel like he has a big win though, because like if you walk out into an emergency waiting room and you see people visibly upset because of your well-being and realizing how much they love and need you, I feel like that's kind of like, that's just the biggest ego stroke, isn't it? Right?
I would be really pissed if I was in the hospital and I came out into the waiting room and people weren't devastated. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, why aren't you more upset? I could have died.
I want people to be in full mourning at the possibility.
You better be wearing a freaking black veil, okay?
That's why you need David around at all times.
You better be dramatic.
Yeah. I'm waffling and I'm trying to like avoid it. I'm gonna go with my gut, and I'm gonna go with. And it feels wrong to do so because it really is the proposal episode. But I am gonna go with Alexis. I feel like she had a real moment of awareness of her own personal growth. Even like Ted had to point it out to her, but I feel like she had a, I don't know, just articulating that she's gonna miss them was just really good for me and really hit.
I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I'm so pleased with how this turned out because it makes my life so much easier. I get to give my point to Patrick, which I did really want to do. I totally am with you, Trish. She has a little bit of like a pissy moment. However, like it coming from someone who is the David in the David and Patrick relationship, like I do get this. There are times when like I'm a lot or like I'm complaining and I'm being the worst, and like being the partner of, what are you looking at, Stuart? Being the partner of someone who being the partner of someone who is the worst sometimes isn't easy. And like Patrick always has to be the one with the cooler head because David is pretty much never the person with the cooler head. And so reversing that every once in a while is fine. And like Patrick freaking out because he wants this hike to have been worth it for David feels very real and like human of him. So I really cut him slack in that regard. I think the thoughtfulness behind their proposal and the fact that he brought like champagne and cheese and like all of David's favorite things and makes a Notting Hill reference for him. Like it's so romantic. It's so perfect. And I just love this proposal so very much. And I'm so pleased that I get to give my point to Patrick because I was hoping, I'm like, I do want to spread the wealth. Like I do think there are so many characters who should get a point this episode, but Patrick has to be one of them. And I'm very pleased that I get to be the one to do it. Boom. Yay. Okay, let's move on to our disgruntled pelican point because, ooh, baby, I'll go first because I know immediately. Roland. In a crisis, I would never want him near me. Leave now before I chuck this energy drink at your head. Like, truly, I couldn't stand his behavior this episode. And I know that's the bit. And I know he's doing it because he cares for Johnny, but he's not helping anything. And it's annoying. So Roland is getting my disgruntled pelican point, Stuart.
I mean, yeah, you have to give it to Roland, right? Like, there's no other candidates really. Like, no one does anything really deplorable.
I mean, yeah, I think Twyla makes up for it. Like, I think she makes up for it when she has her conversation with Alexis. I do think there's an argument to be made that, like, telling someone they're going to drown in a boating accident when you know they're going to be moving to the Galapagos Islands feels like a really bad thing to do.
Like,
yeah, she was just speaking the truth of the
them.
cards.
Like, you could say anything. They don't know. It just feels like a really kind of not nice thing to do.
I tell you, if her prediction turns out to come true in some weird way in season 6, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna come back to this episode and I'm just gonna remind you of this and be like, you can't blame her for reading the truth.
Yeah.
Gods don't lie.
Yeah. Are you going with Roland, Stuart?
Yeah, I'm going with Roland. I mean, I was playing with joking about giving it to Ronnie for the whole scratch card thing, or I don't know, maybe Ted. Well, no, it has to be Roland, which is a shame because he was really funny. He was really funny in this episode.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. What about you, Trish? Where do you want to go with your disgruntled pelican point?
Well, I had a couple of different thoughts. I just the parental flashback trauma of your parent suddenly screaming at you from nowhere just sort of like caught me completely unaware. It was just that sort of like because it was such a sudden switch that was like, you shouldn't do that to your children, but that kind of caught me a little bit. And the fact that she was making Johnny do all this hard work for her and folding the pamphlets so she can't do it because of her carpal tunnel from signing checks. And
yeah, and the fact that she just steals the cinnamon buns from the motel instead of and then empty
coffee cup.
I'd be so mad.
It's a gesture.
It's so unbelievable.
And also Ted's sort of just plastering over all the cracks and everything just constantly was a bit of a red flag for me as well, of the fact that you're not seeing this. You're just trying to sort of like gloss over everything. And you're not actually sort of listening to what Alexis is saying. You're just, you're so focused on what you're doing. But it is Roland, after all. Yeah. I just had to mention the fact that there was a couple of other people that weren't exactly the best.
Yes, that's some really good points, especially the bits about Moira. Like, having a parent just give you a job, like, out of the blue on your day off, I'm like, get out of here with that. My mum springs that shit on me all the time. Like, I once went over and I was like, I went over, cooked her a roast, and then she had the audacity to go, oh, would you mind clearing out the loft? And I was like, no, go away.
Yeah, and I feel like, Trish, you let me know if this is incorrect, but I feel like they could get away with it because of the mom guilt, because of the like, I carried you in my womb and raised you. And not that they say it, but it's almost like implied, you know, like, I'm your mother, like, you have to do this.
My mom doesn't get away with that anymore from me. I tell you. I'm like, no. You see, I'm a mother.
Yeah.
Of my own. So it's just like, no. You can be the cool grandparent now.
Yeah.
And try that on. But yeah, I suppose. Like I catch myself like in my own moments of like because children are so frustrating. But it's just like all these moments where you just have to like go into another room and scream sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's just like that kind of thing of like not in front of the children. But
yeah. All right, it is time. Hopefully this is an easy discussion. I have a feeling it will be. To tier rank the episode, as usual, we have Hot Shit, Full Bouquet, Love That Journey for Me, You, David, and Shit Out of Luck. And Stuart, I would be very surprised if our discussion does not revolve around where in Hot Shit this falls rather than if this falls in Hot Shit. That sounds like a really weird sentence to say.
Yeah. It's got to be Hot Shit. Like, I want to make jokes about it. Oh yeah, maybe it should be lower. No, it's one of the best episodes ever, with one of like the best scenes ever as well. Solid ABC plot. I don't think they like had a duff storyline. I think we've all been really positive on all three of them. So automatically, it's in Hot Shit for me. I think quite high as well. Like, I would probably wager. Is it quite as iconic as A Little Bit Alexis? I think maybe just a smidge less.
That's the question, right? Because Trish, I would say, like Stuart was saying, we love all three storylines. Like every single storyline is great. And so then we kind of have to compare, okay, every single storyline in this episode has very lovely, heartwarming moments. Is every single storyline just as hilarious, right? Like the Hospice has A Little Bit Alexis, which is iconically funny. This episode, I think the iconic thing is the proposal, which is heartwarming, not funny. So it's how you weight it.
I think there is a couple of jokey moments, but they're not big jokey moments. I think definitely the Ronnie scratch card moment is supposed to be funny. The beer bottle ring is like it's tiny little giggles rather than like belly laughs. It's just those little moments of levity just like sprinkled in, so it's not too sort of emotional for you. But I think it's definitely more of an emotional. So it depends on how much you rate. If you want something sort of like a more of a heartwarming, warm, fuzzy feeling of an episode, or do you want something that? Because I love the fact that Schitt's Creek does that. That some episodes it is full just comedy all the way through, and other times it just like grabs your heart and just rips it out of your chest and just goes, look, I can play with this as much as I want. It's just like it's that kind of feeling. And for me, I mean, I think this is one of the up there. I think there's a couple in the next season that maybe could give it a run for its money, but I love an emotional story. I love a bit of growth, character growth, and that. And I think this for me is just, I think it's the best one of this season. But I'm a little bit sort of, that's why I picked it, obviously. So
Stuart, I would argue that if we're looking like, let's pretend it's vying for the top spot, which is currently held by the Hospice, episode 8 of this season. In the Hospice, the three storylines we have, obviously we have the A Little Bit Alexis storyline with Jocelyn and Moira trying to cast Cabaret. And the other storylines we have are Johnny and Stevie going to the Hospice, which is an emotional storyline more so than a funny one. And then David and Patrick hire Ronnie to fix the bathroom at Rose Apothecary, which I would personally argue is not as funny or heartwarming as any of the three storylines in this one. I think where I stand is, I think The Hike, all three storylines are better than the three storylines in the Hospice, but A Little Bit Alexis is so supremely iconic. So does A Little Bit Alexis outweigh anything that happens in The Hike? And I think I would argue that I think The Hike is better. Like, I think because of how much we had to argue over who the heck we're going to give our Simply the Best point to.
Yeah.
So many characters had emotional growth moments. It's not just David and Patrick have their proposal. They have their proposal. Alexis has a moment where she realizes she'd miss her family. Moira and Stevie have a moment, I guess Roland, where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe Johnny might be like in a health situation. Like, I think all of those moments combined are going to outweigh A Little Bit Alexis for me.
Yeah, I think sometimes in this rankings, I think I for one like get a bit hung up on the comedy aspect, and I'm like, if there isn't like an iconic funny moment, I kind of weigh it down a little bit. But I'm like, I feel like, yeah, you're right. Like all the ABC plots for all of these were all very sentimental, very emotional, very kind of important. And I think that's just as worthy as like an iconic funny moment. And the fact that we got all three and that all three were incredibly strong, I think, yeah, speaks to the quality of this episode as a whole. I don't think there was a duff moment in it in the slightest. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, let's put it above. Let's put it in the top spot.
Oh, baby. Look at, and we have 6 episodes in Hot Shit right now. That's incredible. This season is so good.
We did tell you.
Yeah.
We did tell
Everyone
you.
said it. Everyone said it. And Stuart, you were like, I don't know if I believe it. And here we are. Look at us now.
Have you watched this season since? Have you gone back and watched it?
Oh, I've seen this season a lot. Yeah. Like I know.
No. Stuart.
Stuart, have you
Stuart's
watched
seen the first season since coming and watching these ones?
I've gone back and watched a couple of clips. But yeah, I imagine when I go back and if I go back and watch like the whole episodes, I'd be like, oh god, there's a marked difference in terms of the pace for one thing as well. Like I remember like those earlier episodes, a couple of times they were quite slow and a bit sluggish, especially like very early on in the first season. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and do a bit of a comparison.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're barreling towards the end of this season, which I can't believe. Next week is the finale. Life is a Cabaret, which, you know, I feel like, Stuart, I'm not even going to ask you what you think this episode is about. It's like, duh.
I think we might be getting to the, the performance, maybe. I don't know, maybe.
And we are going to watch Cabaret ahead of the episode, so I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to watch that. And
have either of you seen it before?
I have not. I don't know anything about the story beyond what we've heard from our listeners.
Yeah, Todd was really useful, like in giving a lot of information there recently. But I was like listening. I remember the songs and like bits of it, but like the wider things, I was like, I didn't really. I must have like second screened it and not really paid that much attention. So I will have my full undivided attention when I watch it now this time.
Yeah. And I'm especially excited, Stuart. This is an episode I've been excited for you to watch since season 1, I think. Like, honestly. Wow. And I won't say why now. I'll tell you why, obviously, on the next podcast. But there, like, in the very beginning of us starting the podcast, when you expressed a certain, like, thing, I was like, oh, okay, great. Now I know what he's going to love. Like, I know there's going to be a thing he loves. So I'm excited. This has been a long time coming for us to get to the season 5 finale. So I really, really, really can't wait for next week. But yeah, Life is a Cabaret. We're going to get to that next week. In the meantime, at Talking Shit, give us 5-star reviews. Go subscribe to us on YouTube. We are going to cover A Mighty Wind. We'll have to figure out when we're going to schedule that. Maybe we'll do it like between seasons 5 and 6 or something. But yeah, anything else you want to let the people know about, Stuart?
Not that I can think of. Obviously, like is not related to podcasts or plugs or anything like that. But go play Expedition 33. Like I've got Jess and Will, and they're obsessed with it.
It's so good.
Like, yeah, go out and play it, people. I'm gonna like scream it from the rooftops. It's so good.
Yeah, it really is so good. Trish, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to tell people about?
Nope. I'm just subscribed to Talking Shit because they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with the finale of season 5 of Schitt's Creek. I can't wait. Until then, warmest regards.
And best wishes.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.